Christmas had always been my favorite time of year. The lights, the warmth, the promise of family gathered around a table sharing food and laughter. This year, driving through the snow-dusted streets toward my parents' house, I thought maybe things would be different. Maybe they would finally see me for who I was, instead of who I was not. But when I stepped through that door and felt the cold silence wrap around me like a winter fog, I knew something had shifted. I did not know then that this would be the last Christmas I would let their words cut into me. I also did not know it would be the last time they would see me smile before they needed me most. Before I tell you how my own family learned the hard way what respect means, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button if you have ever felt undervalued by people who should love you most, and subscribe because this story shows why setting boundaries is not selfish. It is survival. Now, let me take you back to that Christmas dinner where everything changed. My name is Calvin. I am 35 years old, and I live in a modest but comfortable house in Denver, Colorado, that I bought with my own money 2 years ago. I work as a senior financial consultant at one of the larger investment firms in the city. The job pays well 6 figures annually, and I genuinely love what I do. I help people make smart decisions with their money, build security for their futures, and avoid the kind of traps that can ruin lives. My days are filled with spreadsheets and client meetings, but my evenings and weekends belong to me. I have season tickets to the Avalanche games. I volunteer at a local youth center teaching financial literacy. I have good friends who know me and value me. I am by most measures happy, but my family does not see it that way. My father, George, is 62. A retired contractor with calloused hands and traditional views about what makes a man successful. My mother, Patricia, is 60, a homemaker who spent her life raising us and now spends her days worrying about grandchildren and what the neighbors think. My older sister, Amanda, is 40, married to Troy, and they have 3 kids, twin boys who are 10, and a daughter who is 5. Amanda stays home with them, and her entire identity has become wrapped up in school pickups and soccer practice and Pinterest birthday parties. My brother Derek is 38, married to Stephanie with a son who is 8 and a daughter who is 6. Derek sells real estate, always talking about his next big deal, always projecting an image of success that I suspect is more fragile than it appears. And then there is me. Single, no kids, no mortgage shared with a spouse. Just Calvin living his life on his own terms. For the past 5 years, every family gathering has included questions about when I am going to settle down. At first they were gentle, almost joking, but as I passed 30 and then kept going, the questions became sharper, more insistent, edged with something that felt like disappointment or even anger. Derek and Amanda would show off their perfect families, trading stories about parent-teacher conferences and family vacations, while I sat at the edge of conversations, feeling more and more like a guest in my own family rather than a member of it. Still, when my mother called 2 weeks before Christmas and said, "We miss you, Calvin. Please come for Christmas Eve dinner," I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe they were finally ready to accept me as I am. On December 23rd, I went shopping. I bought toys for all my nieces and nephews, carefully selecting things I knew each child would love. For my father, a thick wool sweater in his favorite dark green. For my mother, a high-end slow cooker she had mentioned wanting. I spent nearly $800 not because I was trying to buy their affection, but because I genuinely wanted to make them happy. I wanted to show them I cared, even if they made me feel like I did not belong. The afternoon of December 24th, I loaded everything into my car and drove the hour and a half from Denver to Colorado Springs, where my parents lived. The snow was falling, lightly coating the pine trees along the highway in white. The radio played Christmas carols. I allowed myself to feel hopeful. Maybe this year they would ask about my life and actually listen. Maybe this year I would not feel like I had to defend my choices. I pulled up to the house at 5:30 in the evening. The porch lights were on, wrapped in strands of colored bulbs. Through the window I could see the Christmas tree, the stockings hung on the mantel, the warm glow of family life. I grabbed the bag of gifts and the expensive bottle of wine I had brought and walked up to the door. The decorations were beautiful, exactly like every year before. But the atmosphere was cold. Derek and Amanda were standing in the kitchen doorway talking, and they stopped mid-sentence when they saw me. My mother came out of the kitchen, her hands wrapped in a dish towel, and gave me a brief hug that felt obligatory rather than warm. My father glanced up from the football game on television, nodded once, and went back to watching. My nieces and nephews came running over excited to see Uncle Calvin, but Derek and Amanda quickly pulled them back, redirecting their attention to something else. It was subtle, but I noticed. I set the bag of gifts down on the side table near the door. Derek walked over, glanced at them, and said with a smirk, "Oh, Uncle Calvin bought gifts again. Trying to buy love." He laughed like it was a joke, but the edge in his voice was sharp enough to cut. Amanda appeared next to him, crossing her arms. At least someone has extra money when you do not have a family to feed. I forced a smile, trying to keep the peace. I just wanted to get something nice for everyone. My mother did not even look at me. "Derek, Amanda, come help me finish setting the table." I offered to help, following them toward the kitchen, but my mother waved me off. "No need. Amanda already helped me. She knows how to take care of a family." The words hit me like a fist to the stomach, but I said nothing. I went back to the living room and sat down near my father. The game was still on. I tried to make conversation, asking him about the team, about his week, about anything. He gave one-word answers, his eyes never leaving the screen. Derek came back into the room, and within minutes he was talking loudly about how his son had made honor roll and his daughter had won a ribbon in her ballet recital. Amanda joined in, bragging about how her twin boys had been selected for the travel baseball team. Stephanie, Derek's wife, chimed in about how they had just booked a vacation to Hawaii for the summer. Troy, Amanda's husband, mentioned they were looking into adding an addition to their house. I tried to contribute, mentioning that I had just closed a major deal at work, something I had worked on for 6 months and was genuinely proud of. Derek cut me off mid-sentence. "Yeah, but what is the point if you go home to an empty house?" The room went quiet for a moment. Then everyone went back to their conversations as if I had not spoken at all. I sat there, feeling smaller and smaller, wondering why I had driven all this way to be treated like a burden. At 7 o'clock, we all gathered around the dining table. It was set beautifully, with china plates and cloth napkins and candles flickering in the center. But the seating arrangement told me everything I needed to know. Derek and his family sat on one side, Amanda and hers on the other, both flanking my parents at the head of the table. I was at the far end alone, like an afterthought. My father stood to say grace. We all bowed our heads. "Lord, thank you for this food and for our family gathered here tonight. Bless Derek, Amanda, and their beautiful families. And," he paused just long enough for it to be noticeable, "and bless Calvin too. Amen." I swallowed the lump in my throat and kept my head down. As we started passing dishes around, my mother looked at Amanda and said, "Your sweet potato casserole is perfect, honey. You are going to make such a wonderful grandmother someday." Then she glanced at me, her expression tight. Some of us will never know that joy. I focused on my plate, cutting my turkey into smaller and smaller pieces. Derek leaned back in his chair, looking at me. "Calvin, when are you going to settle down?" "You are 35, man. The clock is ticking." "I am happy with my life right now," I said quietly. Stephanie laughed softly. "But do not you feel lonely? Coming home to no one every night." "I have friends," I replied. "I travel. I enjoy my work." Troy shook his head. "That is not the same as having a family, dude. Nothing compares to that." I could feel my jaw tightening, but I kept my voice steady. "Different things make different people happy." Amanda sighed dramatically. "Mom, Dad, can we talk about something?" My mother perked up. "Of course, honey." Amanda glanced at Troy, then back at my parents. "We have been thinking about moving closer to you. The commute is getting hard with the kids' schedules. But we need help with the down payment. And we thought maybe Calvin could help since he has all that extra money and no responsibilities." I stared at her, unable to believe what I was hearing. "What? You want me to just give you money?" Derek jumped in. "It is not giving. It is helping family. You make good money, and you do not have kids to spend it on. What else are you doing with it?" "I work hard for my money," I said, my voice rising slightly. "I have my own plans." Amanda rolled her eyes. "Plans for what?" "Another solo trip to Europe, another expensive gadget you do not need." I looked at my parents, waiting for them to say something to defend me, to tell my siblings this was out of line. But my father just cleared his throat and said, "Well, son, family helps family. You do have more freedom than Derek and Amanda." My mother nodded. "We raised you to be generous, Calvin. The betrayal cut deeper than anything my siblings had said. Derek stood up from the table, his face red. You know what your problem is, Calvin. You are selfish. You live this fake bachelor life, pretending you are happy, but really you are just scared of commitment. You are scared of responsibility. He pointed at me, his voice getting louder. You have no wife, no kids, no real life. You are just taking up space in this world. Amanda stood too emboldened by her brother. Exactly. You have no purpose, no legacy. Just wasting oxygen while the rest of us are building something that matters. Stephanie added quietly, almost gently, which somehow made it worse. At least our kids will remember us. Who is going to remember you, Calvin? My hands were clenched into fists under the table. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I looked around at all of them. My parents were staring down at their plates. My nieces and nephews looked confused and uncomfortable, not understanding why the adults were being so mean to Uncle Calvin. My mother finally spoke, her voice soft but not kind. Calvin, do not be upset. They are just concerned about you. They want you to be happy. Something inside me snapped, not into anger but into clarity. I stood up slowly, my chair scraping against the floor. The room went silent. I walked calmly to the coat closet, pulled out my jacket and put it on. Calvin, where are you going? My mother asked, panic creeping into her voice. We have not had dessert yet. I looked at her then, at all of them. You are right. I am wasting space here. Calvin, do not be dramatic, Derek said, rolling his eyes. I walked toward the door, grabbed my keys from the side table and left the gifts where they sat. I did not need them anymore. My mother followed me to the door. Calvin, please. It is Christmas. I turned to look at her one last time. Then I smiled. It was not a warm smile, not the smile of the son who had shown up hoping for acceptance. It was calm, cold, final. Merry Christmas, everyone. And I walked out into the snow. The drive back to Denver felt longer than usual. The snow was coming down heavier now, thick flakes swirling in my headlights. I did not turn on the radio. I just drove in silence, my hands tight on the steering wheel, my mind replaying every word that had been said.